The Anarchist Cookbook. If a rebellious teenager's diary was mixed with a guidebook for mayhem, that's the Anarchist Cookbook. Written by William Powell in the 1970s, this book isn't filled with dessert recipes, but rather step-by-step instructions on making explosives, weapons, and other dangerous devices. Powell wrote it during an era of political unrest, a time when revolution and rebellion were hot topics. The problem? This book didn't just remain a theoretical guide for anarchists. It found its way into the hands of real criminals and extremists, linking it to acts of violence. Authorities saw it as a literal instruction manual for chaos and did everything they could to suppress it. While some defend it as free speech, others see it as a hazard to society, because when your kid turns a pipe into a bazooka, it's hard to call it a literary masterpiece. The Satanic Verses. If you ever pick up the Satanic Verses thinking it's a how-to guide for summoning demons, you're in for a surprise. Salman Rushdie's novel isn't about devil worship, but rather a highly controversial take on religion and history. The book follows two characters who survive a plane explosion, only to start transforming, one into an angel and the other into a devil. But what really ignited global outrage was its reimagining of the Prophet Muhammad, particularly the idea that Satan had influenced parts of the Quran. Muslims worldwide saw this as an unforgivable insult. In 1989, the supreme leader of Iran issued a fatwa, a religious ruling that was essentially a death sentence for Rushdie. The book was banned in several countries, and Rushdie spent years in hiding. It wasn't just a novel. It became a symbol of the war between free speech and religious sensitivity. 120 Days of Sodom. If you think 50 Shades of Grey is extreme, 120 Days of Sodom makes it look like a bedtime story. Written by the Marquis de Sade, this book is so obscene it practically redefines the meaning of taboo. The plot? A group of wealthy men lock themselves in a castle for 4 months, indulging in every depraved act imaginable. The book features extreme sadism, violence, and sexual exploitation so shocking that even modern audiences struggle to stomach it. It was banned for obvious reasons. Many countries deemed it a direct threat to morality. Some even argue it shouldn't be classified as literature at all. But despite the bans, copies still circulate, proving that some people are drawn to the darkest corners of human imagination. Lady Chatterley's Lover. In early 1900s England, modesty was everything. But Lady Chatterley's Lover by D.H. Lawrence shattered those social norms. The novel tells the story of a woman trapped in a loveless marriage, seeking passion in the arms of a rugged gamekeeper. This wasn't just romance, it was filled with explicit scenes and discussions of female pleasure, which were practically unheard of in mainstream literature at the time. But the book wasn't just about sex. Lawrence used it as a critique of the rigid class system in England. It mocked the divide between the upper and lower classes, making it even more controversial. Banned in several countries for decades, the novel later became a landmark case in the fight against censorship. The 48 Laws of Power. If your most manipulative ex wrote a self-help book, that's The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Unlike other self-improvement books, this one isn't about waking up early and staying positive. Instead, it teaches ruthless strategies to gain and maintain power, including deception, manipulation, and playing mind games. Some of the laws include conceal your intentions, and make others do the work for you, but take the credit. Sounds like the perfect handbook for an evil mastermind, right? That's exactly why it's been banned in many prisons. Officials fear it might turn inmates into master manipulators. But in the corporate world, the book is a bestseller, proving that power is still the ultimate currency. Lolita Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov is often hailed as a literary masterpiece, but its subject matter is deeply unsettling. The novel follows Humbert Humbert, a middle-aged man who becomes obsessed with a 12-year-old girl. His obsession turns into a disturbing relationship, narrated in a way that almost makes readers sympathize with him. While the book is beautifully written, the topic of pedophilia made it highly controversial. It was banned in multiple countries, with critics arguing that it romanticizes child exploitation. To this day, Lolita sparks debates. Is it a critique of obsession or a dangerous normalization of abuse? Brave New World. Aldous Huxley's Brave New World describes a society where happiness is manufactured through a drug called soma. People are controlled through pleasure, consumerism, and instant gratification. Sound familiar? It eerily mirrors modern society, where social media, advertising, and technology dictate our desires. The book was banned for promoting ideas that were seen as too radical. Governments feared it would make people question authority. But as the years pass, Brave New World seems less like fiction and more like a roadmap to our own future. Animal Farm. George Orwell's Animal Farm is often mistaken for a simple tale about farm animals, but it's actually a biting political satire. The story follows a group of animals who overthrow their human owner, only to end up ruled by power-hungry pigs. The book criticizes how revolutions often lead to new forms of oppression, a direct jab at the Soviet Union. Governments that saw themselves in the story were quick to ban it. But despite censorship, Animal Farm remains a powerful warning about the dangers of unchecked power. The Grapes of Wrath. John Steinbeck's The Grapes of Wrath follows a struggling farming family during the Great Depression. But instead of portraying farmers as hard-working heroes, it shows them as villains exploiting workers. This, combined with its harsh critique of capitalism, made the book an enemy of the American establishment. It was banned for being un-American, and even burned in some states. But history proved Steinbeck right. His depiction of social struggles remains just as relevant today. Slaughterhouse-Five. Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-Five isn't your typical war novel. Instead of glorifying heroism, it paints war as chaotic, absurd, and meaningless. The story follows Billy Pilgrim, a soldier who survives the bombing of Dresden in World War II but becomes unstuck in time, randomly jumping between different moments of his life, including his time as a prisoner of war and even an alien abduction. Written during the Cold War, when patriotism and military pride were at their peak, Slaughterhouse-Five was seen as dangerous. Its anti-war message and dark humor made it a target for censorship, with schools banning it for being un-American and too vulgar. But for those who read it, the book's raw honesty about the horrors of war and the illusion of free will is unforgettable. Why we can't stop reading banned books. The more something is forbidden, the more people want it. Whether it's political critique, religious controversy, or pure scandal, these banned books continue to captivate readers. They force us to confront uncomfortable truths and challenge authority, which is exactly why they're so feared. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know which banned book fascinated you the most. See you in the next video.